I guess I'm a little bit scared because I have always been a bit of a hypochondriac.
Bryce Sage wants to know what his future holds.
I'm not saying you have any health issues.
Imagine if a crystal ball or tarot cards could tell your risk of having a heart attack or getting cancer.
You are worried about health, which is causing you to stress.
But you don't need to rely on a psychic. There are products out there now that will tell your future. Home DNA kits say they'll examine your genes and predict your risk of getting seriously sick.
So it does show me a long life for you. It shows me anywhere from the ages of 86 to 93.
Bryce is teaming up with Marketplace to test some of those DNA kits. Just what are the consequences of letting your gene genie out of the bottle?
Hey, Erica.
Hi, how are you?
Hey.
Are you ready for the big test?
Yeah, a little terrified. Come on in.
Bryce is going to help us test 4 home DNA kits.
Some of them are obvious why we picked them, and then others are kind of random. It wasn't easy to figure out what ones we should buy. These are all the...
All right, 23andMe, I've heard of them.
Yeah.
There's a good chance you've heard of them too.
This is me.
My DNA.
It helps make me who I am.
23andMe is the biggest player on the market.
23andMe's personalized genetic service. You'll receive over 100 reports based on your DNA.
They came to Canada recently promising to personalize medicine by empowering us with information about our genetic makeup.
Getting my 23andMe results.
It really opened my eyes.
They all need some of your DNA. You have to spit for some of them.
Okay.
And I want your blood for some of the other ones.
But will these kits really tell Bryce anything useful about his health?
So these are the kits. Why do you want to go through all this?
Well, I guess I've always kind of been obsessed with myself. And more importantly, like, where do I come from? Like, I love I'm kind of really curious about the nature and nurture of what makes us who we are. And actually, you know how Angelina Jolie found out she had the genes for breast cancer, so did what she needed to do to prevent the inevitable. So I was kind of inspired by that. I was like, well, what could anybody do?
Angelina Jolie stunned the world a few years back when she had both breasts removed.
I've been very happy just to see the discussion about women's health expanded, and that means the world to me.
A test revealed she had a mutation for breast cancer, the disease that killed her mom. Jolie recently had her ovaries removed for the same reason.
So do you think that you might learn something from here that would help you take action?
I think so. I think, like, I don't know exactly how it works, if it's going to tell me I'm going to die in 5 years or whatever, but my logic is if I'm going to die in 5 years, I'd rather know now so that I can live the rest of my life as fruitfully as possible.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
Besides 23andMe, Bryce is sending samples to kits by Easy DNA, ViaGuard, and Holistic Health International. They range in price from $200 to $500.
What do you see when you look at this image?
I see a dove and a squirrel.
I see a healthy Bryce.
So what can all these home kits say about Bryce and his genetic makeup? Genetics 101 tells us Bryce has trillions and trillions of cells. Every cell has thousands of genes, half from his mom, half from his dad. The genes are made up of DNA that tells his body how to grow, develop, and function. Like all of us, Bryce's genes can have mutations, and that can be good, bad, or nothing at all. Only some mutations can truly predict trouble ahead. It's going to be a month before we get all the results from Bryce's DNA tests. So in the meantime, we split up to learn a little more. Bryce is on his way to Port Hope, Ontario to visit his mom.
Erica said that she's going to compare the tests to see if the results are the same, which kind of scares me a little bit. Because if one test isn't the same as the other, how do I know that this stuff is even real?
Bryce is eager to hear more about what runs in the family Experts say that's often the best way to figure out your future.
So you visited Kristen in Ottawa?
I did. Look at that thing.
This is awesome. Where do you think they got this thing from?
They meet up at a local landmark and shop full of unusual objects. This self-confessed nerd has a thing for comic books and superheroes.
Maybe once I do this genetic test, I can transform like one of these guys.
His mom, Jane, has her fair share of illness, including a painful neck condition that gives her tremors. She's had breast cancer, both hips replaced thanks to osteoarthritis, and she worries what might be in Bryce's future.
Depression is fairly strong in the family. There's been so much of it. I find that you think about it more so. It's always in the back of your mind. It concerns me knowing that our ancestry, there's been a lot of depression.
So they will test for a battery of genetic risk factors. They call it like genetic predisposition towards whatever disease that they're looking for.
It'll be interesting if all 4 tests have completely different results. Then what will you take from it?
I think if they had completely different results, then I wouldn't take them seriously. But my bigger fear is that they'll actually like back each other up and
they'll be dead on for your biggest fears.
Exactly. Is there anything else that you can think of?
Well, cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, if you look on both sides for you.
Right.
You're doomed.
I'm doomed.
Here's what Bryce is up against based on family history: depression, cancer, diabetes, obesity, spina bifida, osteoarthritis, psoriasis, and cervical dystonia, that disease that makes his mum twitch. It's not clear to Bryce if all those conditions are genetic, or if those home DNA kits will tell him much more than his mum did. While he waits to find out.
3, 2, 1, dodgeball!
Bryce works out at his weekly dodgeball game.
We're going center. Ready?
Nice dodging. 1, 2, 3. Smoldering beards. I've been doing these DNA kit things. Have you heard of them? The home DNA test things?
Yeah, my buddy did one.
Oh, yeah? So you'd do it then, you think?
I think I would do it. That'd be cool.
So would you do one? Like if you had the money and stuff?
I don't think so.
You have to wonder, like, to what extent can this information really be, relied upon?
Used or misused.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think it's time to get it there, guys. It's time to play. Let's go do it. Let's kick some butt.
Yeah. Makes you wonder, could Bryce's DNA information be misused? That question brings me to Ottawa, to meet a senator who's worried all this genetic testing could be used against people.
Senator Cowan, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Senator James Cowan says Canadians need protection from discrimination based on our genes.
Canada is one of the few leading countries in the world that doesn't have some sort of legislative protection. And I was astounded when I learned that and was determined to do something about it.
We've been working with a fellow, Bryce Sage, who's done a number of these genetic tests. And I'm wondering if you think he should be worried about possible discrimination.
I think he should be, because there's nothing to prevent an employer or an insurer or anybody else providing any other kind of service about saying, have you ever had a genetic test? And if so, what are the results of that test? And I think that's private information.
The senators introduced a bill to keep insurance companies and employers from demanding your genetic information. For Bryce, his gene genie is already out of the bottle. He's in a favorite cafe when he finally gets the first glimpse of his DNA.
Looks like the results of my first DNA test are in. It's been about a month, but I've been wanting to figure this stuff out for several years.
The first results are emailed from Easy DNA.
Apparently, I have a high risk of prostate cancer at 22.4%. The normal risk of that is 16%. So my genetic risk level, according to that, is very high. I have a medium risk of, I guess, having an aneurysm, atrial fibrillation. I have a higher than normal coronary heart disease risk. I'm a little bit confused because they say I have a 56.1% chance of getting coronary heart disease, but that's just a medium risk. That seems pretty freaking high. Like, if you got these results, would you think you'd have enough to go off of that? According to this, I have a very high risk of prostate cancer, which, to be honest, was something I didn't even ever think about. Is that something that I need to be really concerned about, that I need to be, you know, waking up in the middle of the night stressing about it? I don't know. All I want to do now is get more information, see what the other tests say, to see if it helps paint a more clear picture of exactly what my genetic future is.
But those other tests are about to make things even scarier.
So...
Hard to see.
Yeah. So I'm a little afraid, but ultimately, I'd want to know.
If a test could predict you're going to get sick, would you want to know? Talk to us on Facebook and Twitter.
I'm bracing for impact here.
We're trying to put our finger on home DNA kits.
Oh, who knows how to do a blood test now?
You did a great job. Bryce Sage is the guinea pig, offering up his blood and spit for this marketplace science experiment.
You ready to spit?
I'm ready to spit.
We're testing 4 kits to see if they can say anything useful about his health.
Done.
And if they agree on what that might be.
So are you like a pool shark? Is that what you call them?
Oh yeah, prepare to be completely unimpressed.
We catch up now that Bryce has had some time to think about his first results.
Well, it was powerful.
Power was there, right?
So I hear you got some of your results last week.
I did, and as you can see, I was letting out my aggression after getting them.
What'd you find out?
I found out that I apparently have a higher risk than normal for prostate cancer, like developing it over the course of my life.
So it's elevated risk.
Elevated risk.
How will that stack up against results from 3 other tests he took? They're in, and we're about to find out together.
Okay, so you ready for these ones?
Yeah, they are. Second round. Okay, so this is Viagard.
It is, and what have we got here?
Right away, we see a big difference from his results from Easy DNA.
Look, my risk of prostate cancer is only medium. So the other test said that I am at a high risk of prostate cancer. According to this, it's exactly the same.
Wow.
As the average person.
So those are 2 different test results.
Completely different.
Huh.
Like, this is saying...
That's a bit of a relief for you if you go with these numbers.
If I go with these numbers, but what if those ones are right?
Wow. Weird that they can be so different.
There's another big surprise when we check his results for coronary heart disease.
This one says you're at a 36% risk. What was your other test?
Like something 56%.
So there's a 20% difference.
Yeah.
That's pretty big.
There's something wrong here.
Because it's your blood, it's the same saliva.
Yeah.
So you do wonder, how do they have such different results for you?
The next results from 23andMe force Bryce to confront his worst fears.
Oh, look, 3 of them are locked.
Do you think that means bad?
Alzheimer's, breast and ovarian cancer, and Parkinson's. So maybe things that you might want to think twice about before you look at them.
So, can we unlock them?
We can if you want to.
Yeah, It's funny because the things I'm most afraid of are, the thing I'm most afraid of is any kind of devolution in my brain, because my grandma passed away of dementia, and watching her go through that was probably the most devastating. So
hard to see.
Yeah. So I'm a little afraid, but ultimately, I'd want to know. Like, I'd want to know if I'm predisposed to anything like that.
You sure? Unlock or not right now?
Unlock.
Should we skip to the bottom?
Yes!
Bryce Sage does not have any of the variants associated with Parkinson's. It's nerve-wracking for
It's
you.
all right. It's terrifying because I'm pretty sure my grandma had something like that.
The final test results from Holistic Health International, they're hard to understand.
Okay, so we know red is cautionary, and we've got quite a few things that are red here, but we have no clue what they're for.
Yeah, we don't know what they mean.
And they come with a hard sell for supplements.
Pages and pages. You clearly are lacking and need a lot of supplements. According to this.
Exactly. Maybe they can supply the supplements too.
As a matter of fact, they can. They sell them.
All 4 tests suggest talking to a doctor. But we want to know why the results don't say the same thing about Bryce's genetic risks.
There are no diseases that are completely genetic.
At the University of Toronto, we showed geneticist Fritz Roth all of Bryce's results.
This test says his risk of prostate cancer is high. This one says it's only a medium risk. Why can they be so different?
There's no industry standard for how to determine what's a high, medium, or low risk. It's really up to the company to define it, and it's up to Bryce to read the definition that the company has provided to decide whether that's his definition of high, medium, or low.
If he looked, though, he would see that this one says it's more than 6% higher than the average. On this one, it says it's actually a little bit lower than the average. So what does that tell him, really?
And that has to do with what variants they look at and how they interpret the variants they look at.
So these companies aren't looking at the same thing on your gene?
Not necessarily.
We move on to the results Bryce got from 23andMe.
Looking at those, what is he able to tell about his health?
Well, detailed risk estimates are not given here for Bryce. As a scientist and a consumer getting a genetic test, I would love to have a detailed breakdown of exactly what my risks are, how sure they are about those risks, and ideally a roadmap, at least a guide for discussing with my doctor what I might do as a result of this.
Are you getting that from this 23andMe test?
No, it's telling me which variants I have or don't have for this particular subset of diseases.
The biggest problem, he says, interpreting what most gene mutations really mean.
It still very much seems like a guessing game when you're trying to decode what's going on with our genes.
Sure, we are all playing a guessing game in knowing our future. So it's a murky crystal ball, and our genetics provides some information about it, but it's really hints.
A murky crystal ball? We're back where we started. Our home DNA kits, no more useful than the tools a psychic uses? We're about to go straight to the world's biggest seller of home DNA kits, 23andMe.
They pay their money hoping that they're going to see concretely what diseases might be coming down the road.
Are you a gene genius? Test your DNA knowledge with our quiz at cbc.ca/marketplace. We're following a genetic trail down to Silicon Valley, California, home to some blockbuster companies and headquarters for 23andMe.
So tell me about the facility here.
So this is our office in Mountain View, California.
Emily Drabant-Conley is 23andMe's Director of Business Development and their Senior Research Scientist.
A geneticist we spoke to said that your kit is fun, but ultimately not very useful because we're at the infancy in terms of determining how useful genetics is, and that a lot of the results that people get from your kit are still pretty vague.
Well, I would disagree with that. I think that there's a lot of useful information that we can tell you about the genome today.
Bryce was hoping to learn something concrete about his health, and it's rather murky for him.
The things that we were looking at, Bryce didn't test positive for, and that is still information.
But that's how this kit is perceived by a lot of people. They pay their money hoping that they're going to see concretely what diseases might be coming down the road.
And many people find positive results with their 23andMe tests. So I think that as a company, we're quite transparent about the things that we look at and what you may find.
Bryce didn't find what he was looking for. Seems these home DNA kits only check for a limited number of diseases and can't actually tell him about most of the ones that run in his family. We head back to Bryce's with a little thank you for helping us out and for letting his Gene Genie out of the bottle.
Overall, how has this experience been for you?
It feels like it's a lot more nebulous than I expected it to be. Like, I think I expected that I would get all this knowledge and it would be, you know, transformative, but ultimately it's absolutely interesting. I don't deny that, but I don't think there's a whole lot I can do with it. So the tests are a little, you know, disappointing in that sense.
Well, we don't want you to be disappointed, so I brought you something.
Ooh.
I'm just gonna get it for you.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, what is that?
Bryce Sage, this is a copy of your gene that gives you blue eyes.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
This is your exact gene. We had it turned into a piece of art, and I'm wondering if there's someplace
that
we could hang
put
it. Okay, let's give this a try.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah, looks kind of neat.
Brings out the blue in your eyes.
Literally.
A piece of Bryce becomes a piece of art.
You know, I think I might need to regift it.
I think your mom would love this.
Yeah, she would love something like this.
Next week on Marketplace.
I'm nervous. Never had anything like this before.
Examining the business of memory.
Here's your brain.
Wow.
From brain training games.
Is it my brain getting better, or I'm just getting used to the game?
To controversial treatments.
It's like selling hope. Why are you selling hope?
We're not selling anything. We're trying to help people.
What can hurt? What can help? Come along on my journey into the world of brain games.